Welcome into the K0LWC Ham Shack. Tonight, I want to talk to you about how I became such a fan of Icom. This is my Icom story. Now, we have to take a time machine back to when I was 13 years old. Now, at that time, I was into radio already through 11 meters, thanks to my father. He was in the military, got interested in radios there, and we had CB radios in both of our vehicles as well as in the house. So I can remember growing up and listening to my parents talk on the radio saying, don't forget to pick up X, Y, and Z before you get home. So I just grew up around radios. When I was 13, I decided that maybe I wanted to get my ham radio license. So my parents brought me to a couple local club meetings. It was at that club where a member gave me a spare radio that he had. It was an Icom VC8. It was a dark green single VHF radio. He said, I know you're still studying and you're intrigued. Take this radio and just listen to our weekly net. Listen to the chatter. And this was at a time when 2 meters was way more active than it is today. So that was a loaner radio, and that was my first experience with Icom, and I loved that radio. Had a really great reception. It was a monoband VHF radio, and just performed really well. And of course, it was my first radio, so there is kind of a sentimental feeling there, right? So now we fast forward a few years. I didn't end up getting my license when I was 13. I just got busy in school and just kind of put it to the side for a little bit. I did come back and finally get licensed after high school. So once after high school, my first radio that I bought myself with my money at the time was the Icom 207. I liked the Icom loaner that I had from the local club, so the 207 it was. And that's a great no-frills analog dual band Icom mobile radio. Love that radio. It got tossed around in my vehicle as a young kid. Took a beating, never had a problem with it, and always had good reports. So that was my second good experience with Icom, but it doesn't stop there. Now, as I prepared to head off to college, I sprung for an Icom 706 Mark II-G. That was my third Icom radio, and I love the Icom 706 Mark II-G. What a phenomenal shack-in-the-box radio. VHF, UHF, HF, all-in-one small compact radio. You had sideband on VHF and UHF. I mean, you could have so much fun. It was so versatile as a radio, and it did everything quite well. It didn't do anything excellent, but everything it did was pretty damn good. So that radio got stolen out of my car in Colorado when I was a little bit older, and I still miss that radio to this day. I love the 706. If I ever find one in good shape, I'd probably buy it just to have it for nostalgia. So that radio gets stolen out of my trunk, it goes bye-bye, then what do? Well, of course, naturally at that time, the Icom 7300 had just come out in the last year or two, so I went down to the local ham radio outlet and picked me up an Icom 7300. Now, of course, that's not a direct replacement for the 706, that's just HF and 6, whereas the 706 is a shack-in-the-box. But I've had my 7300 now for many years. I've modified it in various ways, hardware-wise, and again, I love that radio too. Just like the 706, it has phenomenal transmit audio, and I literally put this thing through its paces every single day on FT8. I run 10, 12 hours of FT8 per day at 100 watts, and this thing takes a beating. Never had a problem with it. Just love the radio. So again, throughout my entire, ham radio hobby career, so to speak, I've always had Icom radios, particularly for HF, but they've always been good to me. Never had any major problems, never had any quality control issues, and it's just been phenomenal for me as a quality piece of gear. So that's why I'm an Icom guy. That's my Icom story. What's yours? And it doesn't have to be Icom. Maybe you're a Yaesu person. Maybe you're a Kenwood person. Maybe you're a Elecraft person. Any of those. Everybody kind of has, again, their journey and how they get started. And again, you tend to kind of stick with what you know. Again, I think one of the big things I love about Icom too is the user interface, especially on their newer radios. They're really thinking through how to make it easy to operate, where other manufacturers are full of menus and things are buried. And I don't think the interface is as good as what Icom is doing. So that's my story. What's yours? Tell me down in the comments. I'm curious to kind of your journey and your preference in the radios that you own, and how you got to where you are today. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't, go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll catch you again next time.